What is good, YouTube? Oh my man, I don't know what's going on. How you guys doing today? Welcome, this is insane. This is so legit. This is AD, man. Welcome to AD channel, AD community. How you guys doing today, man? Shout out to the A community. How you doing, man? Say what's good, YouTube. What's up, y'all, man? Today is the day, man. Hey, what y'all trying to get something to eat on? Because today we doing a reaction video. We watching a scary movie animated right now, man. We having us a great time, man. How you guys doing today? It is 10:33, man. It's 10:33. But yeah, whatever, man. Today we are reacting to Mort or. I know how y'all be seeing it on the YouTube channel, you know. I understand. I hope y'all having a good time watching the show. Make sure you get a big shout out to him, man. You know, we had reacted to the story. The title and the name of it is 75 Horror Stories Animated, June 2026. Hey, compilation, bro. So, let's go ahead and get it. Watch this show, man. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe.
Thank you.
Another part 2 for another reaction. And then we go ahead and get this started.
Listener, first-time writer. I'm a woman in her early 20s working my way through college and trying to come out the other side with as little debt as possible. I've never had a reason to write into you before, but bro, something majorly effed up happened to me last month.
Dang, what happened to you?
I'm thinking, dang, I'm gonna send this into Let's Read. And so I do a bit of this, a bit of that, but one of my hustles is working as an Uber Eats driver when I have spare time from my other jobs or from going to the gym. I always gotta be on that graft. You know what I'm saying, bro?
No, I don't know what you're saying, bro.
Anyways,
I don't know why you say that.
This one day, I get an order that comes up on the app, a McDonald's delivery, and I accept it because I'm nearby. I don't recognize the address, which is odd because I know this town pretty well, but whatever. I took the order, waited longer than usual for the teenage workers to get their thumbs out of their butts and prepare the food, and then off I headed to my delivery location. It turns out it was right at the edge of the perimeter that we're allowed to deliver within, so basically the food was going to be cold as crap when it got there. And still, not my problem, I thought.
No, bro, because wait, because no, hold on. Because now, in the same time, though, bro, like, they be taking so long, like, bro. You get something from DoorDash, and you know how you, even though you give them a tip or whatever, you know, bro, they be taking so forever and then take so long turns, like, gang, like, just say, like, they driving by your crib. Boy, I'm telling you right now, like, gang, you right there, literally. Just forget about that. Come through her, give me my food, and we good. This person right here take a whole loop around the whole freaking neighborhood. I'm right here just sitting here hungry, worrying about where my food is. I'm irritated. I'm like, dang, but where my food at? The person right here still driving around, and then when they came here and gave my food, they were like, here you go. What you mean, here you go, man? I've been sitting here for how long, gang? How long I've been sitting here waiting on my food? Man, I ain't worrying about, man. Let's get back to this video. That just irritates me that at that moment in time of day. Y'all know what I'm talking about, bro. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Shoot.
The expected delivery time, and that's what microwaves
are for. That fool be
mad
cold showing you get it, bro.
And because the further I got from the McDonald's, the more rundown and grody the neighborhoods got. We started in a sort of rundown urban area in the first place, and then drove through a suburb that looked like it had been cursed by the demon of poverty itself. It kind of looked like the way movies portrayed Detroit when they're trying to emphasize how bad it can be, but also maybe even more abandoned. There was barely any graffiti, which was weird. Like, even the criminals and the youth gangs didn't want to hang out in this area, it seemed. And no wonder I'd never heard of the place before. Now, I heard fear being described on a podcast as bone prickles not long ago, and that term struck me as perfect. Driving with this goddamn McDonald's, the smell of fries and Big Macs making me feel kinda sick, I started suffering with the bone prickles. And the moment I heard the guy say that phrase on the podcast, I knew exactly what he meant. Whoa. It's like when your entire body tingles and prickles thanks to some kind of unspecified fear, and I was feeling this just by driving to the delivery location. Now, eventually I reached this address, and it was on the very edge of some rundown suburbia. Now, if this house had been the only occupied property on the block, I wouldn't have been surprised. The rest of the houses were completely dark, boarded up, and run down. This one house had light spilling out of every window and chill, relaxing music playing loud enough for me to hear as I pulled up to the curb outside. Some kind of pop punk or something kind of fun. Now, I manhandled the bag that keeps the food warm, although with how long it had taken to arrive at that location, I didn't have much faith in their fries being hot anymore. Again, everything had fallen within the promised delivery time, so no issues there.
Get that delivery in.
I hauled butt up the driveway, surprised at how heavy their food order was, and I knocked. It took a few knocks before the volume of the music inside lowered, and the door was answered by a pretty-looking guy, a very reassuring gentleman. Now, he must have been in his mid-20s, and he was wearing a band tee and had a goofy expression that made me think that he might have been stoned. Now, I explained that I was there to deliver the food, and he yelled back in the house that some chick was here with the McDonald's. Had anyone ordered any food? I explained that that was a pretty large order, so maybe it was for a bunch of them, and he seemed pretty confused by this. Now, he said that there was only 3 of them in the house, and they'd recently gotten a delivery pizza, so he couldn't really explain who'd ordered the McDonald's. I showed him the app and confirmed 100% that the address was correct.
Okay.
He asked me to wait on the porch while he went and checked with the rest of the guys. And so I was just stuck standing there while I heard vague noises from within. Muffled voices turned into banging and almost shouting, and I began to feel that bone prickle again. Eventually, this goofy streamer reappeared at the front door. Now remember, I still had the food in the thermal bag at this point, and he apologized profusely, saying he was an idiot and the other guys had ordered McDonald's as well as pizza,
my man.
And everything was all good. However, just as I started to unzip the bag, he told me to hang on because they wanted to offer me a tip. I told them they could do it through the app and they didn't have to do it at all, but this guy was absolutely adamant that they were going to give me $10 for the trouble, so if I could just wait on the porch again, he'd head inside and get the cash. Now, who even keeps cash around these days, to be honest?
Just give him through your mind. You ain't got
this time he left the door open just enough for me to see inside. The front door opened. Living room, and I was kind of impressed how clean and frankly awesome the place looked. They had framed posters on the wall, a couple of pinball tables in the corner, and an expensive-looking flat-screen TV. Now, this didn't seem to be the room that they were hanging out in either, and I sort of nosily peered around to see where my new delivery friend had gone to find my tip. Now, I saw him milling about back and forth past the door to what seemed to be a kitchen, and then calling out down a set of stairs to what looked like a basement. I wondered if they had an even more impressive home theater system down there or something, and I wondered if it was just one of those cases where someone with money buys a house that looks run down from the outside.
Why are you so close?
Area, and
I would have
just
been bagged
the
up,
crappy exterior to actually mask a really awesome dwelling. Now, still, it was none of my business.
Yes, none of your
eventually, my new friend came back with $10.69, and I just politely laughed at the obvious joke. Now, I finally fished out the huge bags of McDonald's out of the insulated bag, and I could tell already that by now they were cold, and I figured I just wouldn't make mention of it. This guy had kept me on the porch long enough at this point. Now, after thanks and some goodbyes, I headed back to my car, got in, and then checked for more jobs. There was another one at the same McDonald's, so I figured why not. It had just come through, so by the time I reached the restaurant, the order should be ready. So I started to drive off. I have one of those reversing cameras in my car, and I admit I rely on it a little bit too much, so my rearview mirror isn't perfectly aligned like it should be.
Right.
Instead, it lets me view the back seat, something I'd adjusted for it recently when I was taking my niece and nephew out for, ironically, McDonald's. And as such, glancing into the rearview mirror allowed me to notice that there was someone lying on the floor in the back seat. Now, I could tell he was a guy in his mid-20s. And I also could tell that he was holding some kind of weird knife. I don't know how to describe it. It was clearly some type of kitchen implement, but I'd never seen a knife like that before. And I suddenly realized that the delivery customers had kept me at the door for so long without turning back to my own vehicle. This girl left her door unlocked. I've allowed one of them to actually slip inside. Now, I didn't expect to be more than a minute or two, so
this
I didn't
girl's a
lock the car
goofy.
behind me, and now I was regretting that immensely. What the hell did this guy have planned for me? He was just laying there, staring off blankly like he was waiting for something, clutching that kitchen blade. Now, obviously, whatever he had planned was nothing good, and the first thing I did was I decided to do a stop looking in the rearview mirror, and I didn't want him to see that I'd seen him.
Okay, smart.
Now, obviously, this was all happening within a split second, and I didn't allow myself to react at all, and then moments before I reached the turning into the gas station, I shot forward, screeched into the parking lot, leapt out of my car, and then ran into that gas station. Now, I must have sounded like some crazy woman, yelling how a delivery customer stoner McDonald's order guy was hiding in my back seat and had a weird knife. I didn't know what he had planned and blah blah blah. I was just trying to explain the events and my theory and how I thought the delivery customer had distracted me, and I was almost telling all of this at once. Now, the clerk, an older man, looked at me like I was on meth, understandably so, and then started to ask me to explain everything again.
You won't call the cops?
However, he kind of froze and his mouth was now hanging open, then I followed his gaze. An absolutely ridiculously tall man was kind of unfolding himself from my back seat, and we watched as he fled into the darkness of the night. Now, bear in mind, this was on the edge of the suburbs, so he fled into some kind of forested area. And from the expression on his face, I couldn't even claim to this day that he meant me harm. It almost looked like he was petrified too. Of course, that didn't stop me calling the cops. They got to the gas station really fast and searched the nearby area. They did, in fact, find a knife nearby.
Okay, because good. It has fingerprints
for sushi, but it had nothing on it.
It had nothing on it.
When they paid to visit the delivery customers, they were just as baffled as I was. Everyone was accounted for, which they could prove, and nobody who lived there matched the description that I gave the guy who crept into my back seat.
Know, man.
No, I never did find out who he was or what his motives were. I didn't quit my delivery job or anything silly like that. I just took to actually locking the car door whenever I stepped out to make a delivery, regardless of how brief I thought I would be. And I always check the back seat no matter what. Something tells me that the guy hiding out in my car didn't mean me harm, but the look of fear and alarm on his face as we watched him flee makes me think that someone out there would have done us more harm than I can even fathom if they'd found it. It's one of those creepy mysteries that I'm grateful didn't turn into an unsolved murder and has finally given me something to write into you about. But like they say, be careful what you wish for, because I feel like this was a cautionary tale where the lesson is that it's far better not to wish you had a scary story to share with internet people.
Okay. Dang.
So I'm from England and...
Dang, man. Dang. Oh, man. But now, in the same time, though, dang. That's what, hey, make sure y'all stay safe out there. For the people who's doing Uber driver, make sure you lock your freaking car, dog. Don't leave that door, don't leave it unlocked. Like, okay, at least, like, you know, like, dang, like, she had all her doors, like, completely unlocked, like she's doing a pickup, like a pickup. But for all y'all, make sure y'all stay safe, doors locked, check everything in the basement before you take your delivery and head out. Literally, she was doing all right, but she was tripping a little bit. She was tripping. So yeah, we ain't gonna worry about too much about it. So let me go ahead and watch one more video. Dude. I guess that'd be cool.
Beware so as not to dox myself or lose my job, but I'm a postwoman, or a postie as we say here, and I love my job. I work a rural route, and I've been on the same route for years, thanks to some pleading and a friendship with the head postmaster. Normally, posties get shifted around all the time, and so I kind of know everyone on my little route, at least everyone who makes themselves known to me anyway. There was Stu, a mature student who would always be waiting at the door whenever the mail came and shared his latest work on marine biology with me. I hadn't started out as being remotely interested in marine biology, but Stu had mentioned a few things in passing, and I'd been hooked, pun intended. Now, there was old Mrs. Rader, who always seemed to have some insane medical ailment, which she'd relay to me with the greatest of glee, and I became convinced that she was a medical miracle. And then there was the Four Bottoms, an extremely flamboyant glam rock band by night and a middle-aged polycule who enjoyed cardigans and gardening by day. And then there was Joe and Joanne, two twins with rich parents who often got Amazon parcels in the mail.
Thing one,
I've never
thing
seen two
two,
kids who
twin.
were more spoiled but more grateful for everything they'd got. Now, the one guy I never got to know was Farmer McKay, the allegedly grouchy postman-hating farmer who lived in the small holding on the outskirts of town. Now, to call it a farm would be extremely generous, but it did have a few goats, a couple of sheep, a pig, and some chickens. And it was also filthy, even by farm standards, and as far as I know, he made an entire living selling eggs and milk to locals. Now, I gotta admit, I prefer Sainsbury's. Now, one day, for the first time in about 6 years of doing this route, I was shocked to find that I had a collection for McKay's farm. Not everyone knows this, but you can book Royal Mail to collect parcels, often for free, instead of having to take them to a post office. McKay had booked a free collection with instructions absolutely not to knock and disturb him, but instead find the package in an outhouse which he kindly uploaded a picture of so there was no mistaking it. Now, I made sure that I wore my wellies that day as I didn't fancy wading across the sludge that McKay called a yard. It turns out I made the right call because the mud leading to the safe place outhouse was almost up to my ankles. When I opened the outhouse, I was met with a smell that almost made me gag. I didn't even want to look at what else he kept in there, but thankfully the royal mailbox was visible right at the front, so I grabbed it and headed back to my van. Now, halfway back to my vehicle, I noticed that the parcel was leaking. Real disgusting, foul-smelling liquid dripping out of it.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Well, there's absolutely no way that I can take this as a collection for a million reasons.
Bro,
I
it clearly says do not disturb.
Meant that I had to break his cardinal rule
just
and go
up the
knock
door
on his door and tell him that unfortunately I couldn't accept his collection.
A Kool-Aid box.
The van and the front door of the farm, the package I'm carrying sort of collapses inward. The bottom falls out and the contents spill all over my bottom half. Now, let me tell you,
we got a psycho, man.
In my time.
You gotta call Scooby-Doo for that.
Before I became a postwoman, I was a nursing assistant in my late teens and early 20s, and there was this one old lady that I treated who I would swear had Death himself living in her nether regions.
Call Patrick, man.
This made that smell like flowers and cinnamon. It was a pile of rotting, liquefying organs.
Yeah, I'm quitting.
And now it was covering as much of my legs and torso as it managed to besmirch. I dropped the destroyed parcel and threw up there and then, which really didn't help matters. And now I was kind of mad at Farmer McKay. There are extremely strict rules about what you can and can't mail in the UK, and rotting, liquefied offal is definitely a forbidden item. I didn't even need to check the handbook to know about that. But then I started looking at all that stuff. Maybe my imagination was running away from me, but I was sure that I could make out part of a human spine among the gore. An eyeball winked out at me, clearly fresher than some of the other unspecified parts that covered me, the ground, and everywhere. Now, I suddenly got this idea that McKay was trying to use the Postal Service to hide evidence of a crime, and standing out there in the open in the center of this small holding in the middle of nowhere, I suddenly felt very vulnerable and exposed. At this point, I didn't know what to do. I was convinced my colleagues would give me absolute crap if I fled the scene, but I started picturing Farmer McKay hiding behind a curtain, looking out one of the windows, a cocked shotgun aimed right at me. And so I kind of ran toward the main house. As the front door began to open before I even reached the porch, I wondered if I'd made a terrible, terrible mistake. But the man who stood on the doorstep wasn't Farmer McKay. I could see the resemblance, but he was a much younger man, and as he took in the sight of me covered in those organs and trembling in fear, I could see genuine guilt and regret on his face. He didn't invite me inside. You can hardly blame him. I was dripping in unspecified corpse juices. But there on the doorstep he explained that Farmer McKay had been taken away by doctors the day before after increasingly strange and erratic behavior that had gone unnoticed by his family. He apologized profusely for the parcel collection being overlooked because they should have known that something was awry, McKay never sent packages. I was severely shaken, not least because I couldn't face the idea of getting in my beloved post van covered in this. And thankfully, the grandson, as that's who he turned out to be, helped me hose off the worst of it before I headed back to my van. It's what I saw in the back that really caused this to be a scary story, though. I made the mistake of glancing into the dilapidated barn as I trekked across the mud to my post van, and I only caught a quick glimpse because I looked away as quickly as possible. But no matter how many hot showers I took to wash off all those juices and the gore from my body, I can never scrub the sight that I saw from my mind. In the barn, Farmer McKay had piled what were presumably all of his animals. I couldn't make out which species they were. They'd all melted into one festering, indiscernible pile of corpses. A number of empty cardboard boxes sat nearby, and I can only assume McKay planned on shipping the remains of his animals to various places.
Body parts
to this day, it drives me mad that I never checked and don't remember who the recipient of the original parcel was. I have no idea what his motive was for mailing these liquefied parts, and I guess that's partly the problem with whatever was wrong with him, dementia or whatever had befallen him. It doesn't make sense. He could have been aiming for revenge on his enemies, and he could have believed that he was shipping genuine prime cuts to customers of his farm. Either way, I'm not sure I ever want to know. The McKay small holding was
I ain't gonna catch it. I will not work there no more.
After what I saw,
I would not work there no more.
Sorry that it became one less stop on my postal route.
Alright, man. This is the end, bro. The last. That's no. Okay. But anyway, to be honest, back to everything. The lesson what we need to learn today. Never leave your door unlocked. Always check everything before leaving. Watch your surroundings. Be safe. And make right choices. Cause I'm still confused. Like, gang, she walked up in there and said, then the crazy part about it, when she walked up in there, it was like guts and eyeballs and Joe, like it was all in the box. And sure, she opened that mud. Hey, things did not turn out the way I used to be. Well, I would have been done. I don't know why she continued to start driving that mud, but me, I would have been done. I would have been gone. But anyway, even the delivery part, I would have been out of it. See you later. But anyway, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video, man. I want y'all to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all later, YouTube.